Hey there, this is Max from Lettering Daily, and in this video, I will be sharing 7 tips to help you improve your brush lettering skills. These are the same tips that helped me over the years, and I figured that they could help you as well. These tips are fairly simple, and you can implement them even if you're a beginner. If you prefer reading over watching, you can check out the article that I published on my website. I will leave a link in the description. Without any further delays, grab your brush pens and let's dive right in. Starting with the first tip, use the basic calligraphy strokes. Learning and using the basic strokes for your brush lettering is the best way to learn, period. By basic strokes, I don't just mean that you should do your upstrokes thin and downstrokes thick. Instead, I mean the 8 shapes that we use to construct the whole lowercase alphabet. Well, at least almost the whole. If you feel confused, don't worry, it's actually quite straightforward. We have 8 basic shapes, and they are the entry stroke, the downstroke, the underturn, the overturn, the compound curve, the oval, the ascending loop, and the descending loop. In different combinations, these basic strokes create nearly the whole lowercase alphabet. So for example, the letter A is constructed with an oval and an underturn stroke. The letter G uses the same oval, however, it's combined with a descending loop, and so on. Here's a quick demonstration of the whole alphabet. I'll use 8 different colors for each of the basic strokes. This way you can see how the whole alphabet is constructed. For this, I'm using the Karin Brush Markers Pro, which is a fantastic brush pen to work with. I'll leave a link in the description. As you can see, a lot of the letters share the same strokes. This makes it easier to practice for several reasons. You don't have to guess the form and shape of a letter. It increases drastically the consistency of your letter forms, and it's just easier to learn like that. Once you have a good understanding of the basic strokes and you can execute them with confidence, you can start to tweak them and create your own unique styles. The second brush lettering tip is to use guidelines for your brush lettering. Working with guidelines is easy, and they are super helpful in keeping your letters nice and consistent. We use guidelines to keep our height consistent and, more importantly, the angle of our letters. One of the most common questions I get about guidelines is how to draw these guidelines and what measurements should I use. The answer is, well, it's up to you. Let me explain. With traditional calligraphy scripts, there are well-defined rules when we talk about letter sizing and proportions. Here is an example. The italic script is sized with 5 nib widths for the X height and 5 nib widths for both the ascending and descending letters. Additionally, the letters are slanted between a 5 and 7 degree angle. With brush lettering, you are not tied down to these specific rules and you are free to determine the look of your letters. All you need is a descending line, a baseline, a waistline to close the X height, an ascending line, and finally the angle lines. If you prefer an upright over a slanted letter style, well, go for it. You want larger ascenders and descenders to incorporate more prominent flourishing, do that instead. What matters here is consistency. Consistency in all its forms is what will give that desirable and attractive look to your calligraphy. What I use to create my guidelines and what I always and highly recommend is the rolling ruler. It has a cylinder on the backside that allows it to roll on any flat surface. The rolling ruler allows you to draw straight parallel lines quickly and without any hustle. I love it and I use it daily. I'll put the link in the description so you can check it out. Tip number 3 is holding your pen correctly. The pen hold is important and it deserves a video, even a series of its own. Nonetheless, I'll try to keep this simple and actionable. First of all, it's important to understand that while you write, you shouldn't feel any discomfort in your hand. If you do, it's highly likely that it's caused due to your current hold. The pen hold should be firm but not too tight. This is commonly known as the death grip. The pen should almost feel like an extension of your arm. Avoid any sort of wrist bending as it tightens the muscles and decreases your control. It's much better if you turn the paper instead, based on the slant you've chosen, like this. The brush pen should be held at a roughly 45 degree angle. Avoid steeper angles, since that will damage your brush tip. Another essential note is that your brush tip should always be almost, if not completely, perpendicular to the paper. Otherwise, you won't be able to get any thick strokes. Lastly, I just wanted to address something important. I continuously see people holding their pens in a fist like position. I'm not saying that you cannot hold the pen in that way, but understand that your movement's range will be limited by it. Don't be afraid to change and modify your hold. I've done this multiple times, and believe me, it's not as hard as it seems. The beginning is weird, but you can get used to it very quickly. So, to recap the whole pen hold tip: hold your pen firmly, but avoid the death grip. You shouldn't feel any pain or discomfort as you write. Don't bend your wrist, turn the page instead. Hold the pen on a roughly 45-degree angle. Keep the pen perpendicular to the page. Changing and modifying your hold is not as hard as it seems. The fourth tip I have for you is to sketch your letters. Sketching your letters before you execute them with a brush pen is a powerful trick that will help you improve the final look of your work. It's quite challenging to lay down a brush letter masterpiece immediately in your first attempt. Instead, I recommend grabbing a pencil and some paper where you can quickly lay down different ideas and variations. Let me demonstrate this through an example. I will letter the following quote: "Learn from your mistakes." Here is how it looks on my first attempt without any prior planning or sketching. It looks a bit sketchy, right? Now I'll make a second attempt. But before that, I'll do a quick round of thumbnail sketching just to see a couple of different variations I can come up with. This way, I can quickly and visually explore different combinations with layouts, flourishing, positioning, etc. Once I found my favorite thumbnail sketch, I can use it as a reference for my final piece. Here is the final result, and you can see the comparison with the initial version. To sum this up, take the extra 10 minutes to plan your work, and I promise it will look much better. Next up is number 5. Take it slow and lift your pen often. This is a very common issue I see with beginners. Remember, you're not racing with anyone, and you are for sure not doing yourself a favor by rushing. The first tip was to use the basic calligraphy strokes. What I recommend here is that you split up your movements according to those strokes. By that, I mean that you should lift your pen after each stroke instead of doing everything in a single motion. So, avoid this and do this instead.
Top quality. Fresh. Top quality.
If you go slower, you will increase the control of your movements, and you will be able to pay more attention to your letter spacing and consistency. Number 6 is proper posture. Posture is another crucial element for calligraphy and brush lettering. I've seen people practicing while laying on the couch, some even practice on the floor. Unfortunately, that isn't really helpful. You need a proper writing environment to facilitate the maximum capacity of your movements. You can't do that if you're laying on the couch. So, what's a proper posture you should have? Well, lucky for you, my friend Paul created this YouTube video that explained how to get started. Additionally, I also highly recommend Paul's latest online course where he provides a more extensive and comprehensive understanding of posture, placement, position, and more. It's packed with a ton of great information that will take your calligraphy skills to a whole new level. I'll leave a link in the description so you can check it out. The final tip I have for you is relax and take a chill pill. As I mentioned earlier, any sort of tension in your writing hand is just going to diminish the control of your movements. I've noticed that I can't really practice if I'm nervous, hungry, upset, etc. Brush lettering and calligraphy in general require you to be focused. If you're not relaxed and calm, it's going to be very difficult to achieve a highly focused state of mind. Forcing out a practice session won't yield any good results. Take a break, eat something, go for a walk, and simply come back to it later. And there you have it, friends. Hopefully, this video gave you some insights on where and how you can further improve your skills. In the article on my website, I shared 2 extra bonus tips, so you can check that out. As mentioned, you'll find the link for that in the description. Now I wanna hear it from you. Which one of these brush lettering tips do you wanna try out first? Let me know by dropping a comment below. Until the next time, stay awesome guys, cheers!
Quality.